One of the first questions people ask about planning a destination is, how do I budget? What is it going to cost? Hi, I'm Jack with DestinationWeddingGuides.com, and in this video, I'm going to help you try to understand the various costs involved in planning a destination wedding. Feel free to, at some point, subscribe, click the button here, ring the bell, give us a thumbs up, or give us a comment. In planning your wedding, there's really two different costs involved in the destination wedding. There are costs being paid by you, the host, and costs being paid by the guests. So let's first address the costs that are being paid by the guests. Typically, that involves the travel. So let's look at some of the travel costs and how we can address budgeting for them for either you or your guests. So the first thing is they've got to get there, the flights. That's really hard. The best way to do that is for the guests to take a look at what the costs are on the airline website that is primary to their airport. The next thing to worry about is the hotel stay for the guests. That's where we can help. Now, when we look at that, the key is that when we try to find a host resort for you and your guests, we try to find a 4 to 5 star resort. We don't want you to have, as many people say, a cheap destination wedding resort. Why? Because the quality is not good. And if the quality is not good, then your guests are going to have a bad time. They're going to come back and tell everybody else about how bad your wedding was. But it's not that your wedding was bad. It's about the resort you chose was bad or didn't have good food or whatever reason they have. The key is the majority of guests on a tropical beach destination wedding will go to an all-inclusive resort. Top 3 places: Mexico, Jamaica, and Punta Cana. What we find in 2020 is majority of weddings are a 4-night package, and the majority of guests are going to spend between $600 to $1,000 per person based upon 2 in a room for their stay. If it starts going above that, above the $1,000 for the 3, 4, 5 night stay, we find we have a reduction in the number of people attending. If the price goes below that, then people start wondering, how good can this resort really be when the price is so low? Okay, so here are the other costs involved, which primarily are paid by the host, you, the bride or the groom, or your families. The first thing we look at is the ceremony. Yes, as you've seen in some of my other videos, or you've seen online, hotels or resorts offer free wedding ceremonies. Now, if you want to do a legal wedding, you're going to have some costs. So why don't you budget for this? Typically, we see the cost for a legal wedding is going to be between $500 to $1,000. The majority of weddings are symbolic weddings. So if you're going to do a symbolic wedding, most of the resorts will give you a free wedding ceremony for the symbolic. So let's start looking at some of the options and the additional expenses for you to budget for your wedding ceremony. Okay, so one of the first costs you're going to have are decor for the ceremony. So let's talk about flowers. A lot of the resorts have a basic ceremony package. It could be $500 to $2,000, and they will give you some flowers as part of that. But what we find is many guests want to customize their ceremony. So you may have flowers for the backdrop, you may have additional flowers for the bride and groom, you may have boutonnieres and flowers for the bridesmaids. Those things would be a little bit extra. So let's look at cost. What we see is the hotels have packages for additional decor around the altar or the canopy you're going to stand under. You will probably spend between a couple $100 to $1,000. You may want a bag of rose petals, or you may want rose petals thrown out on the runner. That could be $10 to $25 for the bag of rose petals. Talk about the runner. The hotels have various packages for runners. Some have just a plain white runner. Some hotels will give you for free. I would say that you should probably budget between $100 to $300 for a fancy runner. Now, in terms of other flowers, we've seen clients put flowers along the aisle or candles along the aisle. Typically, we're seeing to do that, we'll run any place between $25 to $100 per flower arrangement down the aisle or on chairs, or to decorate the altar. With the ceremony, every hotel is going to give you chairs. The standard chair is typically a white chair. They're very nice. But what we see is guests like to decorate them. So what are your options on the chairs? Well, if you don't want the standard chair, you can go to an acrylic chair, you can go to a bamboo chair, you can go to a fancy chair. Each hotel is going to have probably 3 to 10 different choices in chairs. The chairs can run between $4 to $15 per chair for the ceremony if you upgrade your chairs to one of the custom chairs. The other thing we see is if people don't want to do that, they may just wrap a ribbon around the chair, they may put a cover on a chair, and each of those things will run between $3 to $10 per chair. Okay, so during the ceremony, you can add music. Most people will bring their phone and provide their own playlist for the background music, but we are seeing many people now go to some live music. The resorts will have various options. We're seeing that saxophonists are becoming popular, flautists, people playing a harp, a guitar, a piano. The resorts will have various packages with that. Most of them will run between about $150 to $300. Now, other things we see with the ceremony, fireworks, indoor fireworks, paper mache being shot in the air, all of those little extras, we're seeing any place between $200 to $500 for those extras at your ceremony. In budgeting for the reception and cocktail party, let's start first for the cocktail party and reception with what are you going to serve? So the key is, again, we've addressed this in other videos, typically that is not going to be free. If you want a reception and cocktail party and food and beverage served, they will charge you for that. So let's look at the various packages. Many of the hotels will have a package for between 20 to 30 people with a cocktail party and a dinner, whether it's a buffet or sit down, with chairs and everything. And that package is going to run between $2,000 and $3,000. And then for every additional person you add, it'll add between $50 to $80, depending on your menu and the chairs and things you provide. Now, let's say that you don't like that and you want to customize everything a la carte. What we are finding is the first thing you're going to look at is chairs. Similar to the ceremony, you have to choose the chairs. The resorts will give you a free chair. They're white typically, and they're nice. But again, if you want to decorate them, you're going to spend $5 to $10 for a bow around the chair, $5 to $10 for a cover on a chair. You could spend $5 to $20 for a custom chair if you want. Now the next thing is we look at the tables. Again, as the standard package, they will give you a tablecloth. Most of the hotels are going to provide you a white linen tablecloth. If you want to change the tablecloths, you'll probably have to spend $10 to $20 to change to a colored tablecloth. If you want the fancy tablecloths that are glittery and sparkly or lacy, you could spend $30 to $50 per table. When we look at tables, next thing we have to talk about is, are you going to put a centerpiece? Some people have brought their own centerpieces. Some people are getting centerpieces from the resorts. You have options of flowers. So flowers, we're seeing centerpieces in the resort menus between $50 to $300. You can do whatever you want. Other resorts have candles and statues and lanterns. So again, the resorts and their decor designers will have multiple options. You're going to be spending any place between $20 to $50 for something in the center of each table. One other item that you can look at is lighting. Now, if you're having an outdoor event, which most clients do in the evening, you're going to maybe want some string lights or some lanterns. Again, you can't bring them from home. You can't go to Walmart in Mexico and buy them when you're there. The resorts won't let you do that. So you're going to have to rent them from them. We're typically seeing the string lights running between $50 to $150 per string of lights to kind of rope around the tree. They also have LED lights that you can run. Some of the resorts have LED uplighting, so you can put a mood into the venue you're choosing. Those we're seeing running between $50 to $100 for 3 to 6 of them. Music. It's a big variable. Again, if you're buying one of the packages, they're going to give you a sound system, which will probably be just an amp and 1 or 2 speakers. You can plug your phone in, run your own playlist. If you want a DJ, the DJ prices are running any place between $500 to say $2,000. The variable is going to be if it's 3, 4, 5 hours, what the sound system is, if the DJ comes with lighting. If you want to get fancier, the resorts can do anything you want, such as dance floors. If you're going to have your event on the beach, you're going to need to rent a dance floor. That dance floor, depending upon the size, could be $500 to $2,000. Now that's just for a standard vinyl or wood dance floor. Now what about if you want the LED dance floor that lights up with the sound of the music or has your name logoed on it? Those things again are sold by the size. A standard 10 by 10 rents for someplace between $600 to $1,000, and as you add more panels, it can go up. One of the other extras we're seeing a lot of people go for now are the photo booths. Photo booth packages are running between $200 to $500 for a couple hours, depending upon which type of photo booth you're renting. Now let's talk about food. Again, if you are purchasing one of the packages that have a food and beverage menu part of it, you're fine. If you want to customize, most of the resorts are going to be between $20 or $30 to $70 to $100 at the all-inclusive resorts. And yes, it is an all-inclusive and you will pay extra for your private event. But for between, let's say, $20 and $80, you can have a 1-hour cocktail party with some hors d'oeuvres, it's private, top shelf brands, and then a 3 to 4 hour event with appetizers, a full dinner, and dessert. Talking about dessert, wedding cake. So no matter what you do, you're probably going to want some wedding cake. The resorts will be charging you any place between $100 on up, depending upon the size and the design. Some of the resorts are going to force you to get a cake based upon the number of people you're having. Some you can just say, hey, I just want a smaller wedding cake so I can cut it, and that may be $50 or $100. Again, if you're getting one of their packages, they're included. The next thing, which is probably the biggest number we hear from clients, is photography. So photo packages run just from a couple hours for $500, $600, $700, $800 to multiple days. We see $2,000 to $3,000. So you really have to choose if you want them there on your arrival to shoot, if you're having a welcome party, shooting the ceremony, and then later that evening the reception, and maybe some candid shots of you and your guests around the resort. So again, you really want to look at their packages because they have a lot. And the same thing is with video. We're seeing video of just the ceremony, $500 to $600, but a couple day, a 2-day video package for between $2,000 to $3,000, and some of that includes drones. For your reception, we're seeing clients add special entertainment. So one of the most popular seems to be fire dancers. Depending upon the number of fire dancers and if it's live or recorded music, we're seeing $500 to $2,000, and also the length of time. Another popular item is the pole dancers. They may only come in for 10 or 15 minutes, so they may be $300 to $500. One other thing that has been very popular has been water drummers. It's very fun. They get your guests in there. The water drummer, again, depending upon how many drummers come and how long the show is going to be between $500 and $1,000. Now, each of the resorts will also have other live entertainment. So if you want to have live music, they have mariachi bands, they have reggae bands, they have guitarists during a cocktail hour. The bands are typically going to run anywhere between $500 to $1,500 for a few sets. A set meaning a half hour to 45 minutes, and the DJ can play in between. Now, outside of the reception, the cocktail hour, and the ceremony, I think that's a good outline for you to get started on your budget. The next thing that we look at is what I would call extras. So gift bags. Either you're going to bring them, you're going to buy them, or you're going to make them there. But then the question is, how do you get them to your guests? The resorts are going to charge you anywhere between $5 and $7 per bag to deliver them to your guests. So hopefully that's helped you kind of put a budget together or associated costs. Every resort is going to have different pricing for the same things. Some resorts will be more, some will be less on certain things. At the end of the day, there's only a certain number of vendors in each location, so that the pricing is very similar across the board. One of the things people have asked is, can I get my own outside vendors to come into the resort? In some cases you can, but all of the resorts are now instituting what is called an outside vendor fee. So even if you find someone cheaper, you have to factor in the outside vendor fee. We're seeing outside vendor fees run between $500 to $1,000 per vendor. So one of the best ways to minimize some of these costs is to work with your travel provider and ask about where are the promotions associated with the resorts that you think are a good fit for me. Because periodically there are resorts that have free cocktail parties, that'll give credits for decor. As an example, 2020 and 2021, there is a resort chain called Charisma. They actually will provide, depending upon the number of people attending your wedding, a credit for table decor for your reception. Decor credits of approximately $10 to $15 per person for your ceremony. One of the great things they do is they will actually provide you up to $44 per person credit for food and beverage for your private events. One of the other resorts that will do the same thing is Palace Resorts. Palace Resorts actually has some of the best promotions going currently in 2020, whereas if you had approximately 30 rooms of guests, we can probably provide you with a free reception and a free private cocktail party with basic setups. So you would ultimately save $50 to $80 a person for all your private events. And right now we have a promotion with them that they're actually giving a credit for each night of your guest stay there for flowers and wedding cakes and other additional items. So again, it's very important that as you work with a travel planner, that they focus on destination weddings because they're the ones that are going to find you these promotions. The resorts sometimes don't publish these promotions. It's something that we know about, and that's why we like to work with clients and understand what it is that you're looking for so that we can match you with the perfect resort for your wedding. Well, hopefully this video was helpful. Hopefully it gives you a little bit more comfort in trying to plan and budget for your destination wedding. Feel free, if you have any other questions, to email me. You can click over here. If you'd like to subscribe, click on the bell for notifications. We post videos typically every Tuesday or Wednesday. If there's a subject that you'd like me to host a video on for you, again, send an email. I am Jack from Destination Wedding Ease, and hopefully we're here to help you plan your destination wedding.